So we're getting close to the end of this first section where our aim is to create a basic currency converter app. And our main failing in what we can do so far is we can't display a message for the user. We don't have a system to do that yet, and that's what we're going to look at here. Now you might be surprised to know that it isn't one of these widgets that we use to do that, but we do it just with a little bit of code. So for our code, we jump over to mainActivity.java, and I'm going to put my code in the click function area here. So we'll do it at the same time as when the button is pressed. So a message for the user in Android is known as a toast, which is a slightly odd name, but it actually dates back to the days of MSN Messenger, which you may remember if you're as old as me, or possibly even older. And over in those days, they considered a message that just popped up briefly to be like toast popping out of a toaster. And that's why it's called a toast. The important thing for us, of course, is how we create it. So all we do is type toast. There it is. And you can see it very nicely automatically adds the widget for us in this case. So we don't need to do that ourselves. Excellent. So toast. And then we want to make text. So I'm going to choose that first option there. So make text. And then we need to put a few variables in to define our toast. The first is the context of the toast, which is slightly strange, but essentially it's just a class that contains information about the app that's running. And in some cases, we use it as a link to access things like the Android file system or other resources. We don't need to worry too much about exactly what it is now. If you want to, have a Google of what is context in Android. There's a lot of explanations out there, but it won't make a great deal of sense at this point in the course. So I'd recommend just going with it for now, and then we'll look at context in a greater context later on once you know a bit more about how the whole environment works. So for now, we just want to use the application context, which is what we'll generally use for context, and we use that by getApplicationContext. So that's our first variable to make our toast. The second is something that makes a bit more sense, which is the actual content of the message that you want to display. So I'll go for a classic "Hi Rob." And then we just need to decide how long we want it to display for. And there are two options. We can use toast.length_long or length short. And length short tends to be about 2 or 3 seconds, and length long is more like 4 or 5, depending on the precise phone that you're using. So I'll go for length long. So we've got a little bit longer to look at it. And then what do we want to do with this toast? We want to show it to the user. So we use .show. There we go. And that's it. That's how you make a message pop up to the user. Simple as that. So toast to get a toast, and then we use the make text method, and we use get application context to get the context of the application, and then we give it the content of the toast, how long we want it to display for, and then we instruct it to display. So let's take a look and see what our toast actually looks like. Okay, so we'll just press the button, and there it is. If you've got an Android device, you're probably very familiar with that, and you can see it just disappears very nicely there. So, simple as that. I've now got a challenge that I want to bring everything that we've learned so far together, and that is to create a very simple app that asks the user what is their name, gives them a field to enter their name, and then when they press the button underneath, it pops up with a message that says hello and then their name. So there's one small aspect we haven't covered that you'll need in that I'm going to leave as a mystery for the moment, and we'll see if you can figure that out for yourselves. But everything else should be pretty straightforward. Good luck. Okay, hope that went well. So I'm going to start in the usual way. So we'll call this Toast Demo. Other options, all the default. And then just as a reminder, we want to ask the user what their name is. Then we want to give them an edit text to enter their name. And then we want to have a button that then pops up with the message hello and then their name. Okay, Fairly straightforward, you might think. Let's see. So we might as well use the hello world that's already there. So let's change the text to what is your name? And if we change the text, we need to put an ID. So I'll just call it label for now. There we go. And then I want to make that a little bit bigger because it's quite small. So I'm going to change the text size. Let's try 20 SP, maybe even a little bigger than that. 25. There we go. Lovely. And then we're going to put in our text field, so just plain text. And then underneath, and we're going to change the width, as usual, to match parent. There we go. So there's the option for them to enter their name. And finally, we'll add in a button, which I'm going to change the text to click me. And then we just need to double click on that and check what the ID is. We could use edit text. I'm going to call it name field, just so it's slightly more specific. There we go. And then while we're here, we'll set the click me button on click to say hello. That's the name of the method that I'm going to use for the button. Okay, so now we've set up everything that we need. So let's jump over to mainActivity.java. And we should be getting pretty good at this now if you've done this a couple of times. So we create our method using public and void. And then we want to call it say hello. It's going to be called by a view. Specifically, it's going to be called by that button. And then we put the code that we're going to have in those curly brackets. Let's import the view framework. So android.view.view. There we go. And so all we need to do here is get the value of the text field and then display it in a toast. So we need to create a variable of a type edit text. So edit text. There it is. And it's given us the widget by default. Lovely. So edit text. And I'm going to call it name. And then, if you remember, we need to convert it to an edit text. And we're going to get it from find view by ID. And we're going to look in resources r.id. And I've actually forgotten what I called it. So let's remind ourselves. Name field. There we go. So name field. Semicolon to end the line. Okay. Now we need to do the toast. So toast, and it brings in the framework for us. Make text. And the context, as before, is get application context. There we go. Now the text I'm going to leave for a minute. So I'll just put a blank string for the moment because that's the complicated bit that we haven't seen before. And then the length, so toast dot, we'll stick with length long, same as before. And then we want to show it. There we go. So if we just wanted to show the name, that would be quite easy. We would do exactly what we did when we displayed the name in the logs. So we'd use name dot get text dot to string. So now we've got an almost functioning app. It doesn't quite do what I asked it to do because I want the app to say hello and then the person. So somehow we need to combine the word hello with the name of the person. And that's the bit that we haven't covered before. You may know how to do it, or you may have been able to look it up on the internet. Either way, congratulations if you managed to figure it out. The way I'm going to do it here is to just type the hello string and then use plus to concatenate those two things. So that will give us hello and then the name. One extra thing is we'll need to put a space in to separate the two. So hello and then plus, and then this will get the name that they've typed in. I hope you managed to figure that bit out for yourself. You'll definitely find throughout the course that anything that you can figure out for yourself, which basically means going onto Google, searching for whatever you're trying to figure out, and then finding an answer, usually on Stack Overflow, but sometimes somewhere else as well. That's a really useful thing to be able to do right from the start. So whenever you get stuck, option 1 is to go back and look over the videos, and option 2 is always to have a Google and see if you can figure it out. Because the act of developing really is at least 80% looking up stuff on Google, figuring out how to get it done, and then applying it to your apps. So if you can start doing that right from the start, then you'll set yourself up as an independent and successful developer. So let's take a look. What is your name? So I'll type Rob and then click me. Fantastic. There we go. Hello, Rob. I hope you managed to figure that all out yourself. We've now just got one more thing that I want to show you in our kind of introduction to Android, and that is how to add images to your app to make them look rather more attractive. And we'll do that in the next video.